And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Today we're taking a look at Codenames Disney Family Edition. Now, Codenames is an incredibly popular party game. There's Codenames, Codenames Pictures, Codenames Duet. Now there's Codenames Disney. This is a licensed version. It's the same game, but it's using Disney stuff from the Disney animated universe. If you've never heard of Codenames before, that's fine. You'll be perfectly at home with this fun party game. Let me show you how it plays. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a whole pile of cards here that have pictures from all the different Disney movies, and you can see that there's a mix of very new movies, there is old classic movies, and you're going to make a grid of 4x4. Everyone's going to split into two teams. Now one team's going to be the red team, one team's the blue team. One person from each team is the clue giver. They're going to sit in the same side of the table, and they're going to look at a card. This card's going to be placed into a stand, and it's going to correspond to this. So if I place this card here like this, it would mean these 6 cards were red cards, and the other 5 cards were blue cards. Red goes first. That's what this light means. So because of that, red has an extra card to give. So red would have 5 of these cards, and then they would take this extra one here just to show that they go first, while blue has just 5. Now on your turn, the clue giver is going to give a one-word clue to everybody, trying to get them to guess as many of their cards as possible. So red might say something like, let me look here, and they might say furry 2. Now, or furry 3, I think might be the word that they would use here. That means there's 3 clues out here that are furry. So their team is going to point to them. They're going to discuss and say, well, furry, they're probably picking rabbit. So they pick this one, and the red player says yes. So we cover that one up to show. And they look and they say, oh, the cat's furry. So that one, yes. And then they say, oh, and the lion's furry. Oh, no, not the lion. The lion is a neutral one, so we put a neutral one there to cover that up, and your turn's over. At the first incorrect guess, they're done. So you could say 1. I could say, for example, Pocahontas 1 if I wanted to, and you would know exactly which one I'm talking about. But you want to try to get people to guess as many as possible, because then it goes to the other person's turn. So the blue player, they might say, I'm trying to think what blue player might say, and they might say, I don't know. They're going to pick some word to say it, and you're just going to go back and forth and guessing them, and as time goes by, things are going to be covered up, and eventually the first team that cover them up is the winner of the game. Now there's a couple ways to change that up. First of all, you can play an advanced variant, which will have a 5x5 grid. It's much bigger, much harder, but you also notice there's a black one here. This is game over. If you cause your team to pick whatever word is there, your team instantly loses. You also have the ability to turn over all the cards and do it with words rather than pictures. The difference here is if it shows a word on the card, you cannot use that actual word. And it doesn't actually say you can do this, but I'm assuming you can. You could mix both words and pictures as you go through. You can also play through and have things where you can say a clue and 0 to show someone that there is no cards that match that clue. Or you could say something unlimited. So I might say, you know, eyes, unlimited. And you're like, oh, maybe it's all these guys because they're showing eyes or whatever. Anyway, the first team to cover them up, or if you're playing the advanced game, to cover them up, or if the other team guesses the X, that's the game over square, then your team wins. That's how you play. Before we go out, let me just quick show you just a bunch of the cards that are in the game so you can kind of see what kind of pictures you would see in here. So like I said, you're seeing stuff from old movies, from new movies, from classic Disney stuff. They're animated stuff, both Pixar, 3D, and the old stuff too. And that's what we got. Codenames is kind of an intriguing game. If you never played before, it works well in many situations. It works well with two pairs of people, one pair against another pair, and it can be very intense, almost like a password type feel. It also works well with groups, as you have one person and everyone is talking in their group trying to figure out what exactly the words are. Because you can only give one word clues. You can't, roll your eyes or give other things. You have to basically, specifically give that clue, but how many cards can you get with that? And it's a lot of fun. Now, I personally prefer the bigger version with the game over card involved in it, because that's like this deadly thing that's always there. Like, I mustn't say any clue that ever makes anybody ever think of that card. But even with or without that card, it's fun as people guess your clues. You accidentally get someone else's, and so I put a red card out and we're the blue team. Sometimes I'll say something, like feathers 3, and you only get one of them, and later on I'll say something else, and you're like, oh, that's right, his earlier clue was feathers. So it works together. The Disney animated universe is huge. There's a ton of cards in here, and I really like that they did the full gamut of the old stuff from Cinderella and Pinocchio all the way up to Moana and then the new cartoons. And so if you're a Disney fan at all, you're going to like this. I also like that they have words and pictures, and I think it's kind of an intriguing thing if you mix them, right? Because, for example, sadness. We know the character Sadness from Inside Out, but if you just have the word sadness, that could be a completely different thing. And so it's kind of intriguing on how this game really has more options. This game is essentially Codenames and Codenames Pictures together. Now, it's not as weird as Codename Pictures, but it offers a lot of choice. And I think you're going to see a lot of games where princess, queen, king are used, but you're going to have to think more than that. You say, I don't know a lot about Disney movies. Well, I don't know why you're watching this video then at this point. But for families, this works well with kids. Even the kids are going to, be learning how to do this, but it teaches them to think, to say, okay, this word works in these situations. This is not just a cash grab. Well, maybe it is a cash grab, but it's a cash grab that works. I really like this theming. This is one that I'll be hanging on to. Codenames Disney.
Dice Tower Judgment, excellent.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.